quick thesis project update. So I solved a couple things this week. You see that there's something going on with his hair that wasn't there before. And no, it's not highlights. Essentially, I did two things. You see, this is how his hair was. It's a particle system modifier. So I actually learned that Unreal Engine can't import particle system modifiers from Blender as is. So you actually have to either convert it into a mesh or you have to convert it into a curve. I'm still trying to figure out which is better. Curves actually might work better with physics within Unreal Engine, I think, but I'm still looking into that. But pretty much how you do that is you have your model selected, and then you go down to this over here, and you hit convert. So it converts the particle system, which is the hair, into a mesh. And then once a mesh, you can convert it into a curve system. It was actually pretty hard to dig up information on this. So once I have this, I can go ahead and go to Objects, convert to curve from mesh. Yeah, so this is what the mesh looks like. This is what the curve looks like. Now the question that I'm going to figure out in this next week related to this is, should I use weights, modifier weights to attach the hair to the head and then bring it into Unreal Engine, or should I, like in that game tutorial update, attach the hair to the joint in the head as if it was an accessory to the head within Unreal Engine. I'm going to figure out which is better this week. That's one thing. Another thing is I figured out what was causing the import of the Rococo motion capture data, what the problem was, and something I'll show you in a sec. So basically, I have this motion capture data. I can export it under these kind of settings, binary for Blender and Mixamo. And this works with a Mixamo converted rig, not a Mixamo base rig. Mixamo's website, which I'll bring up, you can upload your own rigs and then it'll do an auto rigging, which that is essentially my character there, without the hair and shirt and textures. But they also provide their own characters, and I was originally testing the Rococo with one of these characters, thinking that, oh, these characters would give the best data because it's the most best rigged rig of Mixamo. But I was wrong. They actually don't use the same rig on their own rigs as the auto rigging system for this character. So the rigs essentially didn't fit without re-rigging through the auto rigger. So as you can see, let me just turn off that. And yeah, okay. So basically, if I drag through the timeline, this rig back here is the Mixamo. This is the Rococo rig getting transferred over to this character. You can see that the thighs are overlapping, and I'm pretty sure that's an issue related to the settings in Rococo. Basically, in Rococo, you make a profile, and you can tell it your height, and that's all I did. I haven't actually taken every joint measurement because you can actually do very specific joint measurements, and if I had the waist and the hips and the thigh measurements in there, there's a good chance that this overlap would be less so. And then if that's still an issue, I could always design the character to have smaller joints or something, or space out the joints in the T pose afterwards or something. Okay, so anyway, so that works. The facial motion capture, I got that mostly working. So as you can see, I'm using this program, and this is the character from here, and it's getting decent motion capture through an Xbox Windows Connect, and it's not perfect because this is running on blend shapes. Essentially, to get this up and going, what you do is you have to calibrate this, and you have to hold a pose and go back and forth with that pose, and it captures what you look like from many directions in that pose, and you do that for many positions, and then you can save your profile that it creates, and then once you have that done, you can import your character as an FBX with the blend shapes, and if you have the correct blend shapes made, then it's as simple as hold on, should be showing my character. Okay, edit. Imports the first time around. It'll show them lined up. I in Blender went ahead and created a ton of blend shapes based upon that chart that I showed in the last video. So I blended these blend shapes together according to the chart, and I pretty much went, like, say I wanted say I wanted that as a blend shape position. I would just go to here, and I'd go to new blend shape for mix, and then I would have to rename that blend shape the corresponding name for the program that I'm using, which the newer programs than this, FaceCap and Aquifer and a few others, and even Rococo has their own version. The step to set up is a little bit different, but you still have to have the correct blend shapes. So you'd have to do something like this in Blender. The exact blend shapes, fluctuate from program to program. Yeah. Okay, so essentially what you do is, this is the left eye blink, you make sure they match up relatively well. You can see that some of these blend shapes are not perfect matches, which means I have to go back into Blender and play with the numbers. You see in these two positions, it's not just the eyebrows moving. I did the whole face, which actually might be part of the problem that's occurring. Because I looked in the mirror thinking, oh, if I make this facial position, what else in my face moves? All this stuff moves. The thing is, I don't know if face shift wants me to put in this extra data. I'm pretty sure it actually doesn't because it blends multiple shape keys at the same time. So I'm thinking what's happening is when I do this position of face, um, multiple shape keys are triggered to create this whole expression. Um, but if there's this whole expression plus those multiple shape keys triggered at the same time, it'll have a multiplying effect where you get 2 times as much going on. And as you can see in this recording that I did, um, you see that the tongue mesh gets all distorted. I can't do a full smile, which I think is, yeah, there's some issues. So I have to go back and I have to refine to get it to match up more correctly. So an issue that I'm still problem solving, which I have a few solutions in mind, because I know how to get the data onto this character with the blend shapes. But the method that I use to transfer, to copy rig data over to character data, and same thing with facial keys, is I essentially go into the dope, where is it? Dope sheet, I think it's called. Yeah, dope sheet, action editor. Make sure I'm in the action editor. And then essentially I click on the rig that I want to be affected. And then I click on what animation I want to be carried over from the other rig that has the animation. So basically I'm taking the animation from the rig behind, throwing it into the character front. I know how to do that with one character, meaning I can do my Rococo animation, throw it onto him, have him do that animation. Or I could have the face key animation being thrown onto him. I'm still trying to figure out how to throw both onto the same character, you know, the stuff for the head and then the stuff for the body at the same time. I do think I know of a way to do it with Unreal Engine. In my last video update for Unreal Engine, I believe it was, I basically, yeah, I guess I don't need to show the video. I basically showed how the joints in the Unreal Engine character, you can divide what animations happen below and what animations happen above in the code. So I could say, oh, these animations happen in his head, these other animations happen in the body through some coding, which works great with a game character when you're having run around. Does it work great when you have to synchronize both animations at the same time in a scene? I'm not 100% sure because I haven't quite gone that far in testing. So that's something I'll test, but I'm also going to try to get it working in Blender so that I can just bring it all as a completed animation with the character into Unreal Engine. And the hands, you know, I'll do a little bit of fine-tuned animation to give them a little bit less stiffness because the Rococo doesn't do the hands. So those are the major updates. I am exploring a few other things this upcoming week. Basically, there's 3 different plugins. One by Epic, which I'm not sure if it's out yet. It's a little unclear. I'm figuring that out. And 2 by independent individuals that allow you to bring things from Blender into Unreal Engine very smoothly, supposedly. So I have to see what the limitations to those are, because to get the textures correctly linked up, bringing bringing them in through a plugin might be quicker and easier than to relink everything, especially when their maps don't match up completely. Bump maps and different things. They use a different system slightly. Anyway, that's it for this week. Next week, spring break. So even though I probably will not put an update video out there for spring break, it doesn't mean I'm going to stop working. I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure that this project is done in time. But I will update you of anything significant that I accomplish or do. Okay, that's it for this